app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, good Saturday morning to you. Welcome to another edition of Florida Talk Real Estate. We got you for 2 hours of infotainment. See you out there. Thanks for being with us. 92.1, 101.7 on the old terrestrial radio. And we do live stream every Saturday when we are live in studio. You can find us on Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Look on YouTube as well. That's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC, home of a ton of informational chunk videos, plus our live stream every Saturday morning. Of course, you're more than welcome to be a part of the program interactively as well. You can chat a little bit there. Of course, you can pick up your phone, old school style, dial in 877-927-6969. You got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Want to dive into the question at hand? Dial it up. The first voice you'll hear, the melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy, my brother from another mother. How you doing?
Hello, and good morning, Mr. C. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm awesome, my dude. Always good to see you on a Saturday morning.
As well, you.
Ray of sunshine, as they say.
On a rainy day.
Yeah, that's right. There's always that little glimpse of awesome, and I call it Jimothy.
Thank you, buddy.
Stop. You can put your pants back on, though. You're very distracting.
I don't have any.
Oh, well, it's going to be one of those kind of Saturdays. Hi, everybody. Your pal, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Let's get you starting lineup on a Saturday morning. You're very important people. We go straight to the top, y'all. Our fearless leader. The only one that chooses to show up every Saturday. It's Jim DePola. I've told you he runs the top producing Keller Williams team for a decade plus now. Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team. And my guy, Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how you be?
Oh, my God. I feel like we're the Miami Dolphins, decimated with all our players. Everybody's playing. Everybody's hurt, physically unable to perform.
Quick, sign Tyler Hundley.
Oh, my God. When was the last time we had the three of us on the show and nobody else?
It's been a
while, right?
Yeah,
oh, my gosh. Well, God bless everybody. Mike's out of town for family obligations, right? He'll be back next week. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm.
Of course.
Ross Kamarinets has been out for a week now with a really bad, some type of flu.
Oh.
So I hope he's going to get better. He tried to come in and play hurt. And I'm like, you know what? Don't affect the microphones for everybody else. Just stay home and chill out and get better. So
get better is right. We need you over there at Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach.
Yeah, save us some money.
Especially now, which we're going to talk a little bit about the whole insurance stuff related to the storms and everything. There was a really good 60 Minutes report, Johnny, about that. Remember, when was it when they decided, the state legislators decided that the homeowners were going to have to give up their rights to sue the insurance company without having to be obligated to pay the attorney costs for themselves?
I feel like it was like almost 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Year and a half, 2
Yep.
years?
Well, here's what 60 Minutes said. We're not going to go too much into it today, but it just shows you how frustrating. And I was like, who could have predicted this, right?
Well, because so the layout was the vast majority of the money spent for these insurance companies was in litigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a landslide amount of the money spent. So the theory was that if we reverse course on this a little bit, they're going to start saving a ton of money in litigation, and then therefore it'll trickle down, as they say, to us, the consumers, and we'll start saving money on our homeowners policies. Did I frame that right?
Yes, that's exactly what the theory was.
Right.
And even back then, I was like, great, now we got to trust the insurance companies to do the right thing.
But it felt like, as it kind of rolled through, it felt like it was sort of happening a little bit. Like things kind of peaked.
Well, I thought the idea was that if you were going to sue your insurance company, you had to have skin in the game.
Right.
Yes, you got to actually, right. Now, I did have a lawsuit against the insurance company that was profiled in 60 Minutes. I actually sued that company. Now, this wasn't related to her insurance hurricane claim.
Right.
We had a leak in the house that created a lot of mold, and it happened over a long time. And we had proof that we brought out contractors to take care of it right away, but it wasn't fixed correctly, unknown to us.
Right.
And the insurance company said, no, we're not going to deal with it. It took us 18 months to get it resolved.
Oof.
They wanted to give us and the numbers are rough because rough numbers, but they wanted to give us like $10,000 and we needed $80,000 to repair the house. Right. So there's a big gap there.
Huge.
Right. And we went through mediation 3 times. We went through arbitration, which is different than mediation. There's 2 different types. Right. We went through that. Then finally, our attorney, we had hired an attorney because
Timothy, you know the difference, by the way? Mediations with a mediator, arbitrations with an arbitrator.
How about that? Yeah.
actually the different type of arbitrator or mediator, I think they have a different type of training, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong.
It's a totally different process. I just figured I'd grab the low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Got it.
So we did hire an attorney to guide us through this because we couldn't believe the insurance company wouldn't take care of the claim, right? And finally, they said, we're going to go ahead and sue. And I was like, and I was worried about hiring the attorney because I said, look, how much is this going to cost us if we hire you? And what back then, before the regulations were changed, this is the way it worked. The attorneys would take the case on contingency that you would pay nothing to them as long as that we won the case. And if we only won $1 from the insurance company, even if it was just a $1 win, the insurance company was forced to pay my attorney fees.
Right.
So in order to stop that from happening, they felt that gave a lot of people the reason to sue for no reason.
Right.
And people were just suing. And we did have if Ross was in here from Brightwing Insurance, Juno Beach, the only Brightwing insurance company, Ross would be saying something like, what was it? 70, we're only like 6% of all the claims in the country. We were 78% of the lawsuits or something.
The fraud.
Yeah, for the fraud. Yeah. So there was a lot of fraud going on. So this is a very gray area. It's not black and white. The insurance companies were getting ripped off by a lot of people. There's no doubt.
There's a valid approach for sure.
Right,
absolutely.
right.
This wasn't like empty and baseless.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happened in this, what I read, what I saw in this 60 Minutes report was, now that you said about 2 years ago is when they changed the regulations. Well, then Ian hit. So now 2 years later from Ian, there's something like 50. They did an investigation and something like there's 50,000 claims where the insurance adjusters went out, surveyed the property, did a takeoff line by line of what would need to be repaired based on the insurance policy. The insurance adjuster submits that to the insurance company. And then magically, the insurance company was agreeing to pay the claim, but at a fraction of the price. So one of the examples they used is the insurance adjuster turned in roughly a $240,000 bill. And then without the insurance adjuster's knowledge, the insurance company people who had never gone out to the house, never looked at the house, never examined it, unlike the insurance adjuster, said, we don't think it's a $240,000 claim. We'll give you $15,000.
They readjusted the adjuster's claims on the reports, like the actual report. They were changing the numbers on the reports based on a behind a desk and adjuster, from what I remember of that watching some of that video.
Exactly,
right.
Timothy,
and dramatically changed it.
Oh yeah. It wasn't $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, again, you were talking over $200,000 to a $15,000 claim.
So they didn't have a scalpel; they had a hatchet or a chainsaw over there.
And now there's 50,000 claims out there that haven't been paid. Those poor people, and now they're fighting. Now they're in the fight. Right. And guess what? Now they got to pay an attorney.
Uh-huh.
Now, That's the one thing that I was always worried about with this new regulation, where you have to pay your attorney up front because a lot of people can't afford it.
Right.
And they're afraid they're going to lose. And if they lose, then they're going to have to pay their attorney fees and maybe even the insurance company's attorney fees too. It's very scary. So a lot of people don't want to do it. But now the state legislature has basically said, you're just going to have to trust the insurance companies to do the right thing.
Oof.
And I'm sorry, I'm a very skeptical person. We've talked about this, about like public record laws to keep government honest.
Yeah.
We got to keep people honest, because if you don't keep people honest with some kind of transparency, right? People take advantage of the system. I don't care if it's government or private enterprise. That's what just human nature. I hate to say it, but that's what happens.
Transparency and regulations help a lot. Yes.
So anyway, we're going to go into this much detail in other shows, but I just thought that was really fascinating. And so, Ian, 2 years later, we have all these people, houses destroyed, don't have the money to fix it, suing them, paying money for attorneys, and God knows what's going to happen. And now, we have this massive thing that just happened, Helene.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of all the people that are going to be going through this, to that. Some of these people probably aren't going to be paid for 5 years or something after the claim.
Sure.
And
so
I'm sorry.
If they get paid at all.
But not a totally new anomaly, right? I mean, that's waiting for your payment and the fight over your adjustment, like that's not a totally new phenomenon, right? I mean, I remember you and Paul Krasker going down to the Keys and trying to help people fight their way out of disaster. That was years ago.
They called that insurance churning back then. Okay, so what insurance churning was,
from the law offices of Paulie Krasker,
who's going to be on the show to talk about the condo crisis very soon.
Excellent.
We're going to have him on recently. We're really going to focus on that condo crisis on this show.
Nice.
Because there's going to be a lot of people in trouble, and that's what we're built for, this show.
Yes.
So if you have a condo and you're worried about your condo fees or the way the board's running or the assessments that are coming up, this is going to be a really great resource. We have a whole bunch of guests lined up that are experts in the field of that. And I really feel like that's going to be, we don't really have a bubble anywhere in Florida I can see, other than there's only 2 bubbles happening in Florida right now. The insurance damaged homes from the hurricanes over the last couple of years, because Fort Myers area was the only area in Florida as of January that had depreciation going on, like real depreciation going on, because of an influx of properties for sale and not enough buyers because all the damage. And the other bubble is going to be the condo crisis that's happening right now with the reserves, the engineering reports, the structural integrity stuff that's going on with that.
The Fort Myers like reconstruction, there's a lot of like almost like over improved in a way there for that regional area, right? Did they, Jim?
Repeat that, Johnny. I'm sorry.
With the rebuild from the storm in that Fort Myers area, they almost found themselves where they were like over improving the areas, and then as soon as they were done, they were holding the bag on properties that they weren't going to be able to sell for that dollar.
Yes, a lot of the people, the problem that we had in the Fort Myers areas, the houses that were completely destroyed, they used their insurance money to rebuild, and that normally takes 9 months to a year, right? So the plan was for a lot of those people were, hey, I'm just going to build a new construction home and I'm out.
Right.
I'm going to go sell it. But there was such a flood of people that did that. There's not enough buyers because everybody's afraid of moving there right now because they're afraid, well, another hurricane's going to hit, right? Which looks like we're going to get another very sloppy storm coming over them this week, which we'll get into in just a second.
Oh, yeah.
But getting back to Paul Krasker and I going down to the Keys, I can't remember. I'm so bad on, was it Irma?
I want to say it was Irma.
Irma.
Yeah.
So what we did was we heard about this insurance churning, and what was happening with insurance churning down there was your house damaged by hurricane damage, wind, and then water coming in because of the wind? Or was it flooding, which means that the water's rising from the ground up and then flooding your house?
Different claims, right?
Completely different companies insuring that. One is called the flood insurance, which is a different company. That's a national pool risk backed by like the national government in a way. Ross will have a better description of this. But basically what you have with the flood insurance group is that everybody that buys into it everywhere shares the risk for that, for the for flood damage.
Sure.
Hurricane damage is private insurance companies that are out there, that are there for-profit companies that are trying to make a profit off covering your house for insurance. And so that was happening, insurance churning. I'm already reading up in the Panhandle area where the damage was. People are already going through that right now.
Oh, I bet.
And there's a lot of people that had insurance coverage but didn't have flood insurance. Unless they were mandatorily had to because their insurance company, their mortgage company forced them to do it.
They're in a flood zone or something.
So if you had insurance coverage, a lot of times but you don't have flood insurance, a lot of times the insurance companies might say, prove to us that this isn't done from the water surging into your house and not the wind blowing off the roof or the windows.
Yeah, what a mess.
And to make things even more complicated about that, even if you have both, and that's what happened in the Keys, because in the Keys, if you own a house and have a mortgage, you have to have flood insurance. It's a requirement for your mortgage. So even when people had both down there, the two sides were saying, that's not my issue. That's the flood insurance issue. The flood people go, no, that's the hurricane issue. And the homeowners caught
in the middle.
Yep. So we're going to see a lot of pain on that. I really feel like this is now changing the face of Florida. I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying how we're gentrifying at a very fast level. I've been down here since 74. We're seeing more and more billionaires and multimillionaires come down here, right? And we're seeing a lot of the middle class leave because it's just too not affordable. Now, here's the ironic thing. Where are all my customers that are selling in Florida? Where are they moving to? Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee.
Yep.
Where was all the damage from Helene? Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, right? So it's almost like they went from the frying pan into the fire or just in the fire all the whole time and they never left the fire.
Yeah. Just a different part of the fire.
Just a different part of the fire, right?
Bringing it back to a little bit of real radio ties. Of course, the Love Doctor's staple on this show, Dr. Glenn, moved up to North Carolina.
Oh, that's right.
He posted just as the storm was approaching, I thought I moved away from Florida to get away from this stuff. And of course, he was right in the area. He was near Asheville. So he was in it, but he's good. I mean, for the people that have been trying to reach out and see how he is, he's good. Of course, they didn't have any internet service or cell service for quite a while, so they weren't able to post anything, but they're doing okay. But again, just to go along with your point that a lot of people are trying to get away from, and that's inland, again, this is Western North Carolina. Right. This is Western South Carolina, and you're not, you think about it near even on the ocean side. Well, of course, you can, but you don't expect it as much inland.
Well, what really, unfortunately, when there's so much water and the elevation just wrings those storms out, and they had so much water leading up to just the days prior, just a recipe for a really tragic scenario.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very sad, and I don't see how they're going to be able to fix this. To be honest with the insurance thing, I just don't see how it's fixable because we're trying to do everything we can. The insurance companies were losing lots of money that they probably shouldn't have lost from fraud. There's no doubt about that. So everybody's got a little piece of this. There's nowhere you could just wag your finger at one side and say, it's all your fault, right? You can't really do that.
Right.
The homeowners have a much responsibility. How many times did we see during hurricanes over the last 30 years where the person loses 2 tiles on their roof and the next thing you see a roofing company come in and replacing the whole roof on the insurance company's dime.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You saw that all the time.
Oh, you get knocked on your door. Hey, you want to get a roof? Like, go away, you scammer.
And
then yard.
And then you have experiences like mine where you have a legitimate claim and the insurance company fights you tooth and nail. The amount of money they had to spend, the difference between what they wanted to give me and what I got was about $65,000, $70,000. They had lawyers for 18 months fighting me. How much did that cost them?
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
But they just didn't care. It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't see how they're really going to be able to fix this. There is a U.S. rep, not a state rep, down in Broward that is thinking that they want to do a national pool risk for homeowners insurance, like for flood insurance. And there's a couple of politicians running for office right now that are pushing that pretty hard. I'm going to wait for after the election before I try to get them on the air because I don't want to get in the red-blue thing. I'm just not into that.
Yeah.
So if I have any of those kind of people on, it's not because I'm backing them based on their political preferences. It's the subject that their bill is about is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, and that feels like one of the more bipartisan situations that you could stumble into. Homeowners policies.
I know, right?
And the cost.
And
it affects us all.
And I'd really like to see that the state insurance group and the Attorney General's office here in Florida to really be an advocate for the homeowners to make sure they're not being screwed over by the insurance companies. We really haven't seen that yet. Not when you have 50,000 claims that are 2 years old and you're still fighting over them.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General or anybody isn't stepping in and saying, hey, wait a second, this isn't right. We already gave you all these gimmies for the insurance companies to protect you. Now you're potentially taking advantage of these customers. Cut it out, right? Nobody's there to watch the wolf in the chicken coop.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, enough about that. We're going to get into it more, but
there'll be lots
we're
to
going
be
to be
covered.
talking about that for a long time.
Oh yeah. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. You have access to an entire team. We've noted a few of the really valuable members. These are pros, experts in their field, and you get them all at one source. We call it the one-stop real estate shop for a reason. It's floridatalkrealestate.com. You can call the hotline 888-973-7828. You'll find it at floridatalkrealestate.com. Of course, on Facebook and YouTube as well. It's floridatalkrealestate.com.
Just one more thing about this whole Helene thing. Check this out, Johnny and Timothy. This storm to me was amazing. I covered Andrew as a reporter. I covered a lot of hurricanes. I was standing out in the storm in the middle of the night, like all the jerky reporters, standing there saying, it's windy and rainy and trees are going down and power lines are down. Oh, no, right? And just standing out there saying, duh. I always thought that was an exercise of fertility. Futility, not fertility.
What's going on over
There's
there?
always a baby boom after the storm, so you never know.
Got nothing else to do.
But here's a report I read that might be a little bright spot that I'm going to tell you another report I read this morning. This isn't the bright spot. Helene was really devastating. It might have been, they're saying it as far as deaths equal to or maybe more than Katrina, which was our deadliest storm. Right now, last time I checked, there's over 200 dead.
There's still a bunch missing, isn't there?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's only 200 right now. I think the numbers are going to go up much higher.
I don't even think they know how many are missing. I mean, they're just areas that are inaccessible and will be for a long time before they can even find out if they're missing or not.
Exactly. They can't even get they can't even get into certain areas in North Carolina right now. I at least what I'm reading. They can't even get in there to do anything yet out there. But this is the thing that I thought was kind of interesting. Ian right now this is only hurricane insurance, not flooding. Okay. Because flooding will be different. But the hurricane damage for Ian in 2022 that destroyed Fort Myers was $21 billion. Okay. How much do you think they're budgeting for the Florida and Georgia for insurance costs, not flood? How much do you think the damage is estimated to be for this storm compared to Ian at $21 billion?
Okay, so everything has only gone up. I mean, literally everything has only gone up. So I got to imagine we're higher than that by, I don't know, a couple billion.
So you think like 23, 24 billion?
Yeah. I feel like a billion's like $20 these days.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a billion. There's a billion.
Sadly, it
What
feels
are you, Elon?
that way, right? It almost does feel that way. Like this will be, if that was 20, this will be 30 or 35 billion, if not more, when all said.
Here's what they're saying: 3 to 5 billion. That's it.
Huh.
And the reason why they're saying that is where it hit. Instead of hitting Tallahassee or direct hit on Pensacola, where all you have the multi-million-dollar homes, the path went through a very desolate area, not very well developed. I should not say not very well, but a not very developed area of Florida.
Yeah, it's not just home. Yeah, I see exactly.
So
what you're
they're saying only 3 to 5 million. So that's.
But you also did say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you did say not including flooding, right? So this is.
Oh yeah.
Is the 21 billion from
Oh,
Ian including flooding?
No, that was just regular damage, not flooding damage, right?
Okay.
So here, so I was thinking, that's pretty amazing. We because I remember when Helene hit last week, I said, what's going to happen to our, I was really hoping we were going to be pretty much unscathed this year because the insurance industry and the homeowners needed a break. Then Helene hit, and I was like, this looks really, really bad. Then I saw 3 to 5 billion, and I was like, that is a very light bill for a pretty major hurricane, right?
All things considered, yes.
But then I read a report late last night, and I didn't have time to pull it and really read it. I just, scanned the headline. They're saying that the damage for the 5 states for this hurricane, $160 billion is what they're estimating. I think that will include the flood.
With flood.
And that's it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because this storm seems to be more of a water damage than a wind damage. Even though it was a category 4, I mean, that's more. I mean, I know that there were areas, Perry, Florida, and the what do they call it, the bend, the curve.
Sure.
Obviously, they took a big brunt of the wind damage, but we seem to be, the more videos I see, all based on flooding.
There's a lot of video I saw too where it does appear like some good patches of tornado damage too. Where you're like,
very
man,
good.
that just really looks like a tornado ripped through there because there's a home complete.
And
I know the
where
way
does that
hurricanes
fall?
work, untouched, touched, touched. But when they're just decimated, like gone, untouched, you're like, well, that's probably tornadic activity right there.
Yeah, you're right.
And where does that fall? Under the insurance, I mean, when they want to point numbers, right? Flooding wind, right?
I think that would be wind. Tornado, hurricane, I think is pretty much the same thing. But who knows? Because it's insurance and it's wacky.
Here's a ridiculous, and it may not be ridiculous, but I felt like after the fact, I was like, that's kind of a silly reaction. The amount of wood structure homes that are still existing in Florida blew my mind.
I didn't
watch it. Just watch it. Like it looked like Andrew, where you're like, it's just timber everywhere.
Oh, I see.
It's just wood home. Yeah. I just felt like we had way more concrete block structures in the state than what we did.
I want to think that Ross had told us at one time, and when you get closer, away from the coast, it goes more towards that wood frame construction.
Well, here's a good subject. Nick is watching live on our Facebook. Thank you,
Thanks.
Nick. And Nick said, I just left Palm Beach Gardens after 35 years. I bought a brand new build in Palm Coast, and my insurance, including my insurance windstorm, is only $590 a year. Right. So there are pockets of Florida where you can get a much reduced insurance policy,
especially with new construction. I guess.
And new construction really helps out. Jimothy,
sure.
I know that let's just talk about this real quick and then we'll take a break. But when you bought your brand new construction home, I remember that at first it would, and I got the numbers, I'm sure wrong, but like around $1,800 a year for everything. And then, but by the time it was built, it went up to what, $2,800 a year?
$1,200.
Oh, 12.
Was the initial in July was the initial estimate that we got from Ross, and then when we actually went to have to go apply it, it was about $2,000. So it went up about $700 in a 3-month period.
In a 3-month period,
yeah. But again, this was went from a house that wasn't even built yet to being built, but new construction. I still really don't understand why there was such a big jump and big gap there.
Right. And but even 2000, the average policy in Florida right now, according to the reports I'm reading, now this is statewide, so this is
Florida,
high risk and low risk pockets. It's $6,300 a year. The average for the United States for insurance policy right now is about $2,800. So we're at $6,300 just on average. We're the highest in the nation. I believe that's going to change with the wildfires that are happening out in the West all the time, the flooding that we've been having in the Midwest, and the tornadic activity in the Midwest. It just seems like there's always some big national natural disaster happening somewhere in
Sure.
the United States at any given time now.
Which is why that proposal to possibly have some national pooling for coverage might not be a terrible idea.
Yeah, I'm not. I'd like to learn more about it to
Yeah.
see. I don't know if everybody in the country is going to agree with it because if you're in a state like Wyoming, that probably I'm making up. I think Wyoming hardly has anything, right?
Well, they have statistics, right? And you can insurance companies do it. They base their risk based on the statistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just have different assessment of risk, and then your percentage. I mean, everybody's insurance is different state to state. I can see them working that. And if you live in a state where you're less susceptible, you're going to pay cheaper like you do now. Your policies in Wyoming is probably considerably less than our policies here in South Florida.
That's
Why?
true.
Because, well, we're in a more dangerous area. So I could see them working that out to where that stays par for everybody.
I'm just wondering, just human nature of watching everything that's happened with politics and everything. I think that the people that are in the states that aren't as damaged, they're going to feel that it's like, why should I pay for the Florida people that are crazy enough to move to Florida? You move to
also
Florida.
Be paying for the California people that are crazy enough to move to California.
And that's the thing, that the people that
but actually
are
only
in the
paying for
safer states, they're probably going to say, why am I going to have to shoulder the burden for the other people? You chose to move there. You should pay the cost.
But again, if they spread out the national cost accordingly for states' risk, like again, we do now, you pay more in Florida than you do in Montana, right? You just even that cost out to where they're not paying anymore. They're paying similar risk assessment, right? Similar cost or better. Because it's pooled. You'd like to think it would get better if it was pooled. If it's not getting better, what are we doing? If you're not improving it for everybody, what are we doing?
Yeah, I totally understand. It's going to be interesting how this is all going to work out. We're going to keep an eye on it throughout the whole thing, try to get some experts on here. Let's go ahead and take the break. And on the flip side, we're going to do a very interesting thing. Remember that Fed rate cut that happened?
Yeah, sure. Huge news.
Well, the subject of the next segment we're going to talk about is called the Fed rate versus the mortgage rate, the big lie, because that's what's happened with this. We're going to get into it. We've been talking about it for weeks. What we predicted, which was against the grain of everybody, all the big national economists, we ended up being right. The national economists and all the other people, the main Wall Streeters and all that, they ended up being wrong. And we're going to explain why and what to expect to come next with November's Fed rate decision, whether they're going to cut the rates or not.
Excellent. Very valuable information coming up. Of course, you're always welcome to join us toll free at 877-927-6969. You can load in right now, and we'll be happy to get to your phone calls on the other side of a quick break. Of course, if you're not comfortable on the radio, always remember you have the entire team just a couple clicks away. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. You get a entire team of pros. This is a remarkable resource for you. The one-stop real estate shop. This team works cohesively together. I've seen it for many, many years now. I've experienced it myself. I have friends and family that have as well. You can too. Buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Maybe you're part of the condo crisis. You need a pro. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it on Facebook and YouTube as well. But remember the .com. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Great to have you with us every Saturday. It's Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
The bad news, the brain isn't all that great at hearing stuff and remembering it. The good news, you can watch us too. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Real Radio 92.1. Here's the latest with weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon & Partners Weather Center. Have you been injured in a motor vehicle accident? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. A few morning showers through the start of the day, then partly cloudy, warm and humid this afternoon with highs in the upper 80s near 90 degrees and the chance for an isolated shower and thunderstorm. High rain chance moves in for the end of the weekend as tropical downpours are in the forecast through much of next week.
This report is sponsored by CastleImpactWindows.com. This hurricane season is predicted to be extreme. Your house is your castle. Don't wait for the monster storms. Call Castle Impact today for a free estimate and fortify your castle. 561-683-4811. High quality, made in-house. Protect your investment. Castle Impact Windows, your Operation Storm Watch headquarters.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate.
They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
You're listening to Real Radio 92.1. And we are an iHeart radio station. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it, 877-927-6969, toll free. Those things working over there on this Saturday, Jimothy? Everything
Sure are, yeah.
Everything good over there?
Right, hold on, let's take it.
Okay. That one works.
Yeah, where are the phone
There
calls
it is.
today? Everybody's home.
Works.
It's raining. I'm sorry, John. I stepped on
Yeah,
you.
you're good. I like getting the step.
Okay, all 5 lines are working.
All right, it works.
Oh, then
Oh,
you
dude,
like
again.
me a lot.
Step on my cubes.
Step up my cubes. Who was it and what show?
Yeah. Come on. 877-927-6967. Yes, it is Saturday morning. We are live on this Saturday. What's today? The 5th, 6th?
Fifth.
The 5th. Thank you very much of October.
Step on my cubes.
There it is. Now you gave it away. Now they know. I'm Johnny C. That's Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire.
Hello and good morning. Happy Saturday.
Good morning and happy Saturday to you as well. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. You have access to the entire team, like our fearless leader, Jimmy D. Jim DePola, I've told you, runs the top producing Keller Williams team at Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. There's Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how you be?
Hey, thank you so much. Happy South Florida, everybody. Stay dry. When I was driving over here for the first time, I've been living in Jupiter by the beach. the road was pretty flooded coming out of my complex. I haven't really seen that yet.
Huh.
And I was thinking, the rains aren't even going to start until tonight. So I don't know if anybody's been reading the reports, but this sloppy storm looks like it's going to do what they call torrential downpours over our area for maybe multiple days straight. And we might get up to a foot of rain. This is going to be interesting.
Tropical storm, is it going to develop into that?
That's what they're thinking. So today we're going to get the bands of this first little system. This first little system they call the string bean system because it's long and thin. Right. And we're going to get bands of that supposedly tomorrow night. And then later in the week, we're going to have this other bigger system that was actually in the Pacific. And it went over Mexico into the Gulf, and now it's heading over. And they think that's going to hit somewhere between Fort Myers. When I checked last night, Fort Myers and Cedar Key. I'm like, oh my God, how much more can these people take? Because the storm surge is supposed to be pretty bad.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm really praying for everybody that we can get through this pretty decent. So God bless everybody. Hope everything works out well.
That's it.
So I want to talk about this Fed rate cut the magical Fed rate cut that everybody was talking about, how it was just going to be this panacea for the real estate market. And the theory was, the Fed's going to cut the rate, the interest rates are going to drop, and everything's going to be fine. The buyers are going to come back because in Florida, we've had very slow sales. Prices are slightly down overall, not crazy down. It could bounce back very quickly. Palm Beach County, for example, for single-family homes, as far as from January until now, the peak we hit was June of 659, but we were only at 617 last month in September. So that's like a 3% variance, and that's really more of a variance than anything. It's not a trend yet.
That's median
sales price, which we know is 50% sell more and 50% sell less. Much better than the average to kind of determine really what the values of the home are at that moment. But so the theory behind this Fed rate cut is everybody was debating, was it going to be a 0.25 cut or a 0.5 cut? And everybody, of course, was hoping for the 0.5 cut because a 0.5 cut means a lower interest rate, right? Mm-hmm. That's what everybody's saying. Lower interest rate. So let's go over some fact. And what we were saying at the time, me, you, and Mike Rao, Johnny, we all, you and Mike were kind of on the same page for several weeks when we talked about that, where you felt that the Fed wasn't going to cut the rate. Mike felt the same way at all, no cut.
Right.
And your theory behind that, and tell me if I'm repeating this wrong, was that you didn't think we needed to, right? That was just going to churn up the inflation again and make inflation come back really strong.
Exactly.
Understand that point of view.
Yep.
I was kind of leaning with you guys for a while, but then I thought at first that they would do a quarter rate cut just because the numbers were kind of almost there. We were almost at the inflation rate they wanted. We've been hanging around 2.8 to 2.5% inflation for the last several cycles, and we needed to get to 2. And the other thing is that consumer spending was slowing down at that point, according to the consumer price index. Not the consumer outlook. I forget what they call it, but like, do consumers think the economy's strong or not for them personally?
Right.
And that was starting to slide a little bit. So I said, you know what? Because we're in such a wonky area, maybe they'll do a quarter point cut just to see what will happen and should try to hedge their bets. And then after a while, right, about 2 weeks before the Fed actually was coming to the meeting, I said, you know what? I can see a half point cut. And then I said, if they do a half point cut, we might not see a mortgage rate decrease at all because the banks might, the people that control the 10-year Treasury bill, which is the long-term economic outlook of what they're projecting the future to be for our economy, that is directly tied to the mortgage rate. And if the T-bill people, the 10-year T people got spooked, if you will, I felt like that was going to make them not reduce the mortgage rates. So what happened? Okay, so on September 19th, when I have some stats here. On September 19th, the day that the mortgage rates were dropped, and they did drop a half a point, On September 19th, we were at 6 point.
Not the mortgage rate, the Fed rate, right?
The Fed rate. I'm sorry. Thank you, Johnny. The mortgage rate was 6.09. That's what the Freddie Mac rate was for a 30-year mortgage, right? Then the Fed dropped the rate a half a point. Everybody celebrated. It was like Christmas Day, and everybody's like, thank God, the buyers are going to come back, blah, blah, blah. Buyers did come back. Buyers started, applications rose for refis and for mortgages. Why? Because you know what? Freddie Mac, the next week, after this half point cut, we went from 6.08 to from 6.09 to 6.08. We had a 0.01 rate, interest rate cut related to that Fed rate cut.
Well, it wasn't related, actually.
I think you probably will save about a nickel on your mortgage if you refied, and it would only take you about 30 years. It'll probably take the length of the loan to make that refi money back on the nickel a month that you're saving on your mortgage, right? So that whole thing was all smoke and mirrors. But now we have another report from Freddie Mac, right, the next week. So what do you think happened with the Freddie report this week, this Thursday? Did it go up from 6.08 or did it go down from 6.08? Because maybe the market needed time to catch up with the half point drop. So what do you think happened?
Well, Mike always talks about it. Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, always talks about how it just kind of, it's like a wave out there in the ocean. It just kind of goes up and down a little bit, just not a lot of it, just little tiny. So if it's a little blip like it did last time. I'll say it stayed flat. How about that? It's glassy out there, right?
Pretty close. What do you think, Timothy?
If there was a significant amount of applications for mortgages, I wonder if it ticked up just a touch.
It went to 6.12. So we went up 0.04 still. So now it's like 7 cents, right? It costs you 7 cents more maybe 3 cents more than last week. Okay. for your mortgage. Because it's 6.12.
Essentially did nothing.
It did nothing.
Flat.
Which Mike and I had always said that, look, you already got your interest rate drop. They baked it in because they were expecting the Fed cut the rate. And I was kind of correct that if the Fed cut the rate more, our interest rates were probably going to stay and not drop dramatically, right? And that's kind of what happened because the banks had already baked in that they knew the rate was going to drop. Now, if they did nothing, I think that would, if the Fed did nothing and didn't cut the rate at all, I think that would have dropped the interest rates more if that happened because everybody would have said, I'm worried that we're not going to have enough business. We better drop the rate to get more people to come in. And the banks would wanted to drop the rates for that reason. My theory,
they're in business.
They got to make money.
Business. That's right.
They got to make money, right?
Yeah.
So here's my prediction for next week, guys. This 6.12 is going to be like 6.28, 6.35, a big jump. Oh. Why? The T-bill yesterday went nuts. They went nuts. When we started out, the day the Fed cut the rate, the T-bill was 3.63, okay, for the T-bill rate. And then when the Fed cut the rate that day, it went up to, and the T-bill rate is moment by moment. Like you can check, it's almost like the stock market and looking at it live.
Okay.
Freddie Mac is a once a week report, okay? It's based on the week activity. The T-bill is moment by moment, millisecond by millisecond. So you can go on and watch it going up or down.
Because you can buy it at any moment.
It's a stock, right? So the T-bill started at 3.63. They cut the rate. That day it went to 3.65. It didn't go down. It went up. Every time the 10-year T-bill goes up, mortgage rates go up. If the T-bill goes down, mortgage rates go down. Direct correlation, okay? Unlike the Fed rate. Now we're at 3.93.
Oh.
We're 0.3 higher than we were before the rate cut, right? So this is the reason why I have such a big problem with this, and the reason why I talk about it so much. It drives me crazy when you see the media said the Fed cut the rate. Interest rates are at the lowest they've been since 2023. That's all true. But the Fed cutting the rate has no correlation to the interest rates that dropped. Right. And the media ties them together all the time. And sometimes it's right. On this show, we have seen Fed rate cuts mirror the mortgage rate drop at the same time. But
Coincidence.
We've seen it go the other way too.
Yeah.
We've seen it where the Fed cut the rate, the interest rates went up, and people forget about that.
Yeah, coincidence.
So this became the big lie in the media, and everybody thinks it, right? Mike told us last week, or the last time Mike was he on the show last week? I think he was. Yeah. It feels so long ago, a week ago. When Mike was on the show last week, he was saying how many phone calls he got. Hey, I want to get a refi. I want to get a refi. And Mike's like, well, I don't think you should do it. I'll check it, but I don't think you should do it. He's like, what are you talking about? The Fed cut the rate. From now on, people, if you see the Fed cut the rate, that does not mean the mortgage rates are going to change. You need to talk to professionals that know what's going on and get a better plan. The other thing that I think that really people should know about this is please don't rely on the interest rates. And we've talked about this many, many times on the show. Don't let your interest rates decide whether or not you're going to buy your personal residence home. Investment home, different story, fair enough.
Sure,
okay?
because you have margins, you have numbers. Sure. It matters more, I think, to the investor, right?
Way more, yeah. If you're an investor, you should be really aligned with that stuff. But if you're just a regular homeowner, the every person that just wants a place that's theirs, that their family can live in, that's increasing in equity and getting the tax breaks for owning the home and all of that, those people should not be worrying about the interest rate other than whether the interest rate that's happening at that moment is affordable enough for them to afford the home that they want. It should be about, can you afford the home that you want versus what the interest rate is. You're missing a whole big thing. And the reason why I'm saying that, interest rates in November were 7.79, and now we're at 6.12. So does that 6.12 look too bad to the people that bought in November? They're smacking their head and said, wish I should have had a V8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the good thing is, if they did buy at that high peak because they had to at the time and they could afford their house, this is a great time to refi for them.
Potentially,
because you might get a 1.5 drop. And if you bought your house last year, refining a 30-year mortgage into another 30-year mortgage again, you're not really losing that much. Right? Now, if you've owned your house for 15 years and you've been paying on a 30-year mortgage for 15 years.
Well, if you were at 7% for 15 years, that's rough, huh?
Yeah. That would be pretty bad.
Yeah, but you got screwed.
But
big time.
Well, I don't know. 15 years ago. Where were we 15 years ago?
2009.
You know what?
I'll tell you.
2009.
I'm so bad with time. I was thinking now is around the time that we bought. I'm actually 10 years.
Let me see. I'm going to look it up because I got here. Now you got me thinking. Okay, 2009.
12.
Okay, so we were.
That was on the big slide down.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
If it wasn't already down there,
we were
right?
about 5. We were back 15 years ago. Yeah. So, but that's a good one. I love this chart. I love my Freddie Mac chart. It's awesome. Anybody, it's so simple too. All you got to do is go search 30-year mortgage rate Freddie Mac, and you'll get the Freddie Mac report, which is the government report, which is a survey of mortgage brokers across the country reporting back what kind of loans they're writing at that moment. They collate the information and they put it out every Thursday afternoon. And they've been doing that since 1971. So it's a nice, good indicator of where interest rates are going. And if you look at the chart, well, let's do this. I'm going to have a little fun here. Do you mind if we just take just a really quick second here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show.
While you set that up, let me remind everybody that Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. We call it the one-stop real estate shop for a reason. You have a team of pros. These are experts in their field. You get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. There's a hotline there. You can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're just a click away. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, you're stuck with your home, you don't know what to do, remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Just to give you an idea, the people on YouTube and Facebook right now, I have just shared the Freddie Mac chart on the thing. So anybody watching it there can actually see the chart and can see what we're talking about every week. So I did a year chart basically that you're looking at right now, which shows the 779, which was October 26, 2023. The lowest point we've ever got to since then was 6.09, which was 2 weeks ago. So the 6.12, I checked it out. That's the lowest rate we had since 2023. And then, because in 2023, like at the beginning of the year, we were close to that rate. And then the last time we were at that rate before then was in 2022. So this is basically the lowest interest rates we've had for 2 years. So this whole thing, when buyers are trying to outwit what's happening with the interest rates, it's an exercise of futility, and you're really playing a game that's probably costing you.
It's not a new phenomenon, sadly. It happens all the time in every cycle, but you are absolutely right.
Now, with the Fed rate, okay, they're coming out in November. Everybody was talking when the Fed cut the rate at an amazing 0.5 last time in September 19th. Everybody was predicting a 1/4 point to 1/2 point cut for November. Not anymore. The jobs report came out yesterday.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Huh?
Oh my gosh, it came out very strong. So the month before, this is probably why we had the 1/2 point cut. The jobs report came out to 140,000 new jobs filled in the month of August. And that was very, very low. They thought it was going to be 175, 185. So there was a significant drop. And then the type of jobs people were getting weren't very good. They weren't like primo, want to be there for life kind of jobs, right? There were a lot of transitional kind of jobs and things like that. Not very high paying. Got a lot of people concerned. This jobs report was exact opposite. So let's go over that just real quick. There were 242,000 jobs, about 100,000 jobs more reported this time. But it isn't just that. The unemployment rate went from 4.3 to 4.1, or 4.2 to 4.1. I don't remember. But the unemployment rate dropped slightly. It had been creeping up over the last 4 or 5 reports. So we've seen unemployment kind of level out now.
Did we get in the threes?
For unemployment?
Yeah.
There was a time over a year ago that we were in the threes. And
I thought we've been sitting at like 4.1 ever now.
We had gotten as low as into the high threes. And that was the best that we had other than in 2019 before COVID, because I did check. I went on to ChatGPT and asked, and we were at 3.7 unemployment. The average unemployment rate for 2019 was 3.7. which was the lowest in 50 years. And then after we got through the COVID thing, I think it was 2023, we either tied or beat that 3.7%. But after that, it started creeping up into the 4s, and it never got past the low 4s. But now we see it go from 4.3 to 4.1. So we're seeing a little bit.
Isn't that the range they want it? They want it right around there, right?
Well, when President Clinton was president, 92 to 2000. During that time, there was a period, I think it was his first term, the interest rates got below 4%, unemployment got below 4%, and the media was going crazy. And Congress is going crazy saying that was not a healthy unemployment rate, that it was too low because the employers were complaining that they couldn't find people to fill the jobs. And that's a problem too. You could have too low of unemployment. Anybody thinks that unemployment should be 0 didn't take an economics course, because when you take economics courses, what they teach you is you need to have unemployment, because the unemployment gives you fluidity that workers feel like they can move from job to job and not feel trapped.
That's right.
Right? Now, here are some of the other positive things about this report. And this is why I think the Fed is not going to do a 1/2 point cut. They might not even do a 1/4 point cut next time. And this is unless we get some other really bad reports between now and November. The jobs that were created were really high quality jobs this time. Restaurant, healthcare, government agencies, construction were the big hires.
Restaurants considered high quality?
Well, sometimes they are. It isn't servers. It's other types of. It isn't just the servers, right? But
and I'm not knocking servers.
No,
bless
course,
you. I'm gonna give you an awesome tip. I appreciate your service, but I know that it's
it
a low
the
paying
highest
gig.
paid jobs, right? but the restaurants always in the top 3, almost always in the top 3, except for COVID, obviously, right? It's always in the top 3, so it's just there all the time. So is government.
But I felt like that's an industry that could only hire. It has trimmed down so much.
Yes.
There's only one way
Yeah.
to go unless you're shutting down your restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a fairly high turnover rate too.
Yes,
isn't it,
yes.
in that business?
Yeah, and that's why it's always in there.
Right.
That's why it's always
Right.
high for the hires, right? Now, the other bright spot was professional and business services. For the last 3 reports, we've been seeing negative increase in jobs over that, meaning employers were not hiring. They were cutting back. This time, of the 242,000 jobs, 15,000 were professional and business services. So that was about 8% of the total hires. So that was another bright spot. Here's another thing, Johnny, and this is what you always said when we saw the people getting jobs. You were like, yeah, but the jobs they're getting aren't keeping up with inflation, right? Now, inflation at one point was 9%. So we had 9% inflation 2 years ago, and we've been knocking it down over 2 years to this 4%. We're at 2.3% inflation right now, according to the last report, which is basically the sweet spot. The people that got jobs, they had on average a 4% wage increase. So that's actually about almost double what the inflation is.
So leaving one job that paid X and got a job that now pays Y, they're making on average 4%
more.
Good for them.
And
that's why you leave a job, right? To go make more money.
Exactly. And now that inflation's down, they're actually seeing they're actually conceding their day-to-day lives. When we used to talk about before, you were exactly right. When people would get the new job, but it wasn't keeping up with inflation, it was like you were treading water or going backwards, right? So very interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and take a break. On the next one, we're going to talk about, just to live really quickly, just so we're not talking about all this gloom and doom stuff right away. Let's talk a little bit about Delray Beach. I always find this interesting. We're going to talk about beach renourishment. It's always very interesting about how.
Can I just make one quick point
Yes.
while we're talking about this? The jobs numbers that just came out absolutely highlights how the Fed should have waited until November, because remember their movement was based on the jobs report from the month prior, and they were spooked. If they'd have waited, they'd have been like, oh, maybe we might be good, which is, again, me and Mike's perspective was this was all in the name of controlling inflation, right? Things were going good. By lowering the rate, you may be juicing up spending again, and you could be cranking up. Reinflation was the word of the buzzword, 2 weeks ago, right? That you brought in here. And I think with this jobs report, I think a lot of us are going, just saying, you could have waited until November. There was another meeting right around the corner where if you needed, and I know you don't want to be late on your movement. I understand it's fine tuning. They ride the gas a little bit, pump the brake a little bit, ride the gas. Like, it's fine tuning here. I get that, but might have been a good example of you should have waited.
But that's part of the big lie, Johnny, because the rates didn't change.
No, we're talking.
Why are the consumers all of a sudden going to go do more stuff?
The feds are not dropping their rate for the mortgage rates. That's not why they're doing it.
No, right.
That's not why. They don't care what the mortgage rate is. That's not why they're doing it. They care about jobs and they care about inflation.
Right. Price stability. That's what they call price
stability.
They
don't care what happened to the mortgage rate. They're not doing it because of the mortgage rate.
Yeah.
My point always was, don't move it because we're controlling inflation. Again, the only reason they did it, allegedly, is because the jobs number from August spooked them.
Right.
But this jobs number,
right, now it's back.
Not so spooky. And this isn't because they lowered the rate. This was in the chain already. So this might be a great example of maybe you're a little hasty in your movement. We're going to see. Well, it'll play out in front of us.
And the other thing we have to keep in mind, and you and I know this really, really well, is that jobs report really that strong? Or are we going to find out 2 or 3 months from now that they're going to go back? We didn't get 242,000. We only got 175.
Next year, they're going to adjust their number as they do every year. Yeah. It's always funny when it's highlighted. They're like, look, they actually didn't create. It's like, well, yeah, but they did that last year too, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. It happens every year.
So we're only basing it on what the report is right now, but this report will be tweaked because it takes them a little time to understand everything. So this will be tweaked. We've seen it go up or down.
The August report will be tweaked too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
148,000 might bend 240,000 and be like, wow, we were way off, and we definitely shouldn't.
And we've seen that over the years. We've seen that when we talk about. But anyway, we're going to flip over and we're going to talk about Delray Beach and the renourishment plan. How much do you think it costs to put sand on sand? We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
And I have a genius idea, by the way. A genius.
I want to hear it.
Idea.
Awesome.
We got a lot more to get into. Another full hour remaining for you on this Saturday. You're always welcome to be a part of the program. Maybe you have a genius idea that you want to share to the masses and lose out on completely, like me. I'm going to email it to myself, though, to protect myself, evidently. You can join us toll free 877-927-6969. Of course, always remember Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. You need a team of pros behind you. When you're buying a home, selling a home, you're stuck with a home and you don't know what to do. That's why I send you to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
We'll be your friend. Follow us at Real Radio 92.1 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because FloridaTalkRealEstate.com has you covered. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
The Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. We are live on this Saturday. We did determine earlier it's October 5th. Great to have you with us. 877-927-6969. That is that toll-free number. If you want to jump into the conversation, you got questions, comments, concerns, don't be shy. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire over there, he'll line you up. How you doing, my dude?
Doing mighty fine. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, my friend. I am Johnny C. That's right, your old buddy, your old pal. Of course, your starting lineup is consisted today of one powerhouse. We're a little thin on talent today, but we're leaning hard on our fearless leader. 12 plus years now, I've told you, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. And my guy, Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how you be?
That's right. Thanks. I'm doing pretty good. Much better than the rest of the crew. Let's see. Mike has sprained a hammy.
Oh.
Ross Kamara.
Oh, no.
Ross Kamaranet's did an Achilles. I'm joking.
Oh, no.
I even tried to get AJ Holman, the experienced appraiser, right? The appraisal pro. I wanted him to come on the show, and he has a lung infection. So AJ, get better. I couldn't get anybody that I felt safe to put on the microphone without infecting somebody else later. So we know the Greek got OCD issues about that. So we want to make every time he comes in here, just for people that don't know, every time he comes into the studio before we start the show, he always comes in and wipes it down like we all got cooties.
Well, I'm going to make you feel a little bit better. That has happened literally every Saturday for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Is nothing to do with what's in here before, but it has everything to do with it, I'm sure.
And some of he's not the only one. You know,
Yeah,
there's been other people too that will constantly wipe every day. But and
it's important. I'm only joking.
I know.
I'm not insulted about it,
but he takes a soakwood shower. He's like, "Ew, you guys."
Yeah,
exactly.
My seat's warm. I don't like that.
Why is it so warm?
So I always find it interesting when the state of Florida tries, and all over the state, where they have to pay money to re-nourish the beach. They call it beach renourishment. But basically what they're doing is they're taking sand from one place and putting it in a new place and waiting for it to go away and doing it over and over again. It's never going to stop. It's going to be an unending exercise. And I don't even know when they started it. I'd really like, if anybody out there knows, I'd love to know who came up the idea with beach renourishment and how long it's been going on.
When I moved here in 2000, the first job that I had is I still have my CDL license and everything. So I was driving for a fuel truck, right? So I'd refuel golf courses, construction sites, things like that. Even at that point, they were dredging from one area of sand to another up on the beaches. They've been doing that as long as I've lived in Florida. Now it's only 24 years. I'm sure it started well before that.
Yeah.
I know for sure that in 87, when I became a journalist down here, I noticed that there is beach renourishment. At least I remember Boca very well, the beach renourishment that was going on out there. Now I've been down here since 74, but before I became a journalist, I never really noticed, whether they were doing it or not, and it wasn't really aware. But one of the things I learned the last time we talked about beach renourishment early this year is that they just don't take the sand from anywhere. I always thought that they dredged the sand from the ocean where the sand is being pulled out of, and then just push it back onto the shore. That's what I thought happened. But apparently not. They actually look for the same quality type of sand that is at your place. So they don't just truck this. They truck the sand in now, but they don't just truck any sand. It has to match. And it makes sense because have you guys ever been up to, let's say, like Crescent Beach up by St. Augustine? Have you guys ever been up in that area?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the different sand textures, depending on where you are.
That sand is like really, I call it sugar sand because it's really fine and it's lighter.
Okay. That reminds me of the West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast has that.
Yeah.
Yep. And then down here, we have a much coarser type of sand and it's tanner, if you will, right? And I'm colorblind. So take that for what it's worth.
And then some areas it's more like seashell-y. That's all broken up, right?
Yes,
And you have areas that are kind of like that too.
So anyway, it's really interesting. So Delray is going through their latest version of beach renourishment, and they just got from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They just got approved for a $9.7 million grant or fund to help do the beach renourishment. But man, 9.7, that's a drop in the bucket. So this is what it's really going to cost to do the beach renourishment according to the city. 9.7 from Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And they've already raised $3.8 million from another state project that the money hasn't been spent. So they're getting that 3.8 plus the 9.7. Then they're getting another 11.1 million from the federal government, and then almost 4 million from the county. And if you add it all together, the grand total is $28 million to get the beaches so that we have a place to put our umbrella and our blankets.
And that is just in Delray?
Delray.
Wow.
28 million. So think about all the beaches that have to do that all the time.
Sure.
I know that in Singer Island, let me tell you, if we ever get the rise in water, Singer Island, that place is going to be messy because I lived there for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Every time it rains, that whole area on A1A floods really fast. Sometimes it floods without rain. And when you look out the window and you see how wide the beach is, let's say in January, and then you look again in August or September, sometimes those beaches were so thin and on such a steep angle from the erosion, from the beach erosion, if there were storms, it wasn't even enjoyable to go to the beach. Like you couldn't just take a walk on the beach because you literally, your 1 foot would be one of your feet would be a foot higher than the other foot while you were walking because the slant was so much. And I remember going out there to walk a few times just to enjoy the beach, and it was not enjoyable at all just to do walking exercises.
Right.
It was really kind of lame.
To put it lightly.
Yeah. I don't mind going in the water, but walking on that beach was not fun. And they're going to have to, I know that they've already done, I've watched them do the renourishment over there. But basically, they're just moving sand from one place to another. And it's costing a lot of money.
So here's my genius idea, by the way.
Okay.
And I'm still working through like the fine details because there's going to be a process. You familiar with parrotfish?
Yeah, of course. I love when I go diving and see them.
Okay, so parrotfish. Scientists say I like to capture ridiculous little information every day. This is something I just pocketed like 2 weeks ago, by the way, and I'm so glad I get to
parrotfish. I'll look that up while you're doing.
So glad I get to use this so quickly too.
I'm not as smart as Jim.
So parrotfish, scientists say 70% of the white sand beaches in the Caribbean and in Hawaii are created by parrotfish. How and why? Parrotfish eat the algae and they scrape coral. And then there's this indigestible carbonate calcium that in their throats they grind down and they poop white sand. Yes, they poop beautiful, powdery white sand that you see in like Hawaii. Again, scientists say
that's pretty cool.
The beaches in the 70% of the sandy beaches in like Hawaii and the Caribbean are from parrotfish.
No kid.
One large parrotfish can create a ton of sand a year, a ton of sand a year in their poop. They poop sand, literal sand that when we walk around, we're like, oh, it's in my toes. It feels so good. It's parrotfish poop.
No kid.
That's like
a
ton a year?
I'm not kidding you. Yes.
From
again,
one fish.
a ton.
Wait,
large
and that's the waste. So it consumes more than that.
So yeah, here's the thing. We gotta start this parrotfish breeding program that we're gonna control, but we have to grow the coral too. So there's gonna be a little bit of process, right? But as we go, because coral's a living being, we can grow the coral. We can make this environment for our business. This is our idea, and we're gonna get a parrotfish farm. Every large parrotfish is going to be a ton of beautiful white sand a year.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden they're coming to us for tons.
They want our sand.
Yeah. And our parrotfish breed and our coral that we have here, we can put into the oceans. We can be like, hey, we're in abundance now that we can actually help out some of our environment that needs a little bit of nourishment.
Now we can start a glass company.
Yep.
Good. So if we had 365 of them, we could have a ton a day.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it? I didn't know about the ton a day. I did know about them eating stuff and then grinding it up. And I thought it helped. I thought it helped grow the coral reefs is what I thought. But it's sand is what they're producing.
No kidding.
Wow.
That is actually fascinating.
That's pretty cool
when you look at it. I mean, we can make joke a little bit about it, but the fact of what it does seem a bit, I don't want to say unbelievable because I know the source is reliable, but a ton. I can't fathom a creature creating that much waste without consuming more than that. I mean, it seems kind of strange.
Isn't it?
Maybe it's the biological process in which it goes through that it creates more than what it actually brings in.
The way it breaks that down, it just turns into so much sand.
That's wild.
Yeah. Again, I pocketed that little ridiculous piece of information about 2 weeks ago, and when you brought this up, I was like, oh, can't wait to drop this. This is awesome.
There's a little bit of a nugget for you. No pun intended, or maybe a little pun intended, maybe.
So the next time you're really enjoying those beautiful white sugary beaches, remember, you're laying in poop.
You're laying in poop. Yeah, you're living in poop. I don't care. I love that.
Oh, that's good poop, right?
And I love those white sand beaches up in Crescent Beach. I lived there for a couple summers, and I was very lucky to be up there. And man, I remember I love walking on those beaches where you hear that squeaky sound when you're walking on the beach and you hear your feet squeaking on the sound and everything. It's pretty cool. I love that. I love that over there. Hey, on the next segment, just so you know, we're not there yet, but on the next segment, we are going to be talking about the condo crisis. So anybody that is thinking about buying a condo or has a problem with their condo or thinking about selling a condo, I got a really good segment coming up, so stay tuned for that and keep going. And anybody that misses any of this show, you can go back to our YouTube or Facebook and watch them live. And the other thing you could do is go to the iHeartMedia app and go and just search Florida Talk Real Estate and just listen to the audio. If you don't want to see our ugly mugs, you can go there and do it, because I tell everybody that I got the face for radio and the voice for newspapers. So, go over to those things and you can catch everything we're talking about. But let's just keep on kind of light topics, because we've been talking about a lot of doom and destruction.
Well, since you're going light topic, I got a quick question.
Sure.
Okay, before you dive into this. As we talk about like beach restoration and, like some of the things we have to contend with in Florida, did all the iguanas go away? Like, why is there no more chatter over destruction from iguanas? Is it a cycle? Like, does it just get replaced? Are they still destroying seawalls everywhere? It's just not being talked about anymore. Like, it feels like that just shut off.
We need to get one of those companies that takes the alligators and the raccoons in your attic and all that, and the iguana killers and call them up and find out.
Is that what happened? Did they just decimate the population good enough?
It's a really good question, but I do see them around, but not at the level that I saw them 3 years ago.
It felt like they were really growing, like it was Jurassic Park everywhere.
Yeah.
And we were getting all the stories about the destruction that they were causing. I mean, I know they're invasive and they can cause a lot of problems, but I just feel like it's died down. Is it just buried?
I just thought of something really, really bad.
Oh, no, what?
I hear
they're canceled.
I hear they're good eating.
I hear the same.
The economy's been really bad. I hear they're good eating.
I hear the same.
Cats, dogs, I hear in Honduras.
They're eating the iguanas.
I hear like in Central America, they eat it.
Sure.
In Central America, it's like, it's one of the chicken, fish, iguana.
Yeah.
I'm making it up, but
didn't we have some sort of a way to try to control the population?
We have those pop. Just like with the pythons and the alligators.
That type of thing. I thought there was like I don't know if season is the right word to use, or if there was an event that to try to help control it, and maybe that
you're allowed to kill them. But the funny part is you have to kill them in a humane way. So if you don't do it the right way, you could still get in trouble for animal cruelty. So I don't know all the rules. It'll be interesting to get one of those people on the show and talk about that. But you're right about that, Johnny. I haven't seen as much. When we'll know is when it gets really cold
Winter?
out and the newspaper comes out that all the iguanas are falling out of the trees.
Well, so that will make news, but I feel like nobody's even really talking about the destruction of them. And maybe the population has just been thinned. I don't
maybe.
know. Or maybe it's just other things driving the news.
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe the media just got bored of it.
Yeah, like, all right,
yeah, it's like, okay, we had enough of the iguana thing. Hey, I wanted to talk about 2 reports that came out. These are just little fun, friendly things. It's a New York article. I think it's MoneyWise is the media, but they were trying to find the best family-friendly cities, right? So they ranked 188 cities nationwide for family-friendly, and how they determined family-friendly, because I know Johnny's going to ask this, is desirability, affordability, safety, and public education.
Okay, right? I was gonna say schools.
Yeah,
got to be there.
Out of that, we have a couple of cities that are in 3 of our cities are in that 188.
Huh.
And southern, just overall, generally speaking, for the United States, southern destinations dominated the area. But here's something that's interesting. And I find this hard to believe, because I hear that, I know this is called the Rocket City, but I don't hear a lot of good things about Alabama. I remember one of my friends got a job in Alabama, and his wife almost divorced him because she didn't want to move to Alabama. And even though it was Huntsville, which is supposedly very, together city, but Huntsville was ranked number 2, I'm sorry.
Huh.
But Orange Park, Florida was ranked number 3, right? I don't know who 2
is.
I don't know who number 1 is, because number 2 is Huntsville.
Oh,
Tulsa.
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
Huh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take it back. Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Tulsa.
Okay.
Very nice.
Okay. But the Florida cities were Orange Park. Come on, give me to me here. Orange Park. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling down. Punta Gorda, and Vero Beach. So somebody in our area. So Vero Beach is one of the families. Yeah, so
1017
Vero Beach, this is what it says. Florida's Treasure Coast is home to one of its own treasures, a town that has been voted one of the 100 best art towns in America, but with some of its most affordable real estate in a growing location with great schools and safe streets. Its cool Spanish-style arts and entertainment district has independent shops and restaurants with a limited job market, in an untenable commute to either Fort Lauderdale or Orlando. Vero Beach is living its best beach lifestyle and keeping it affordable. The median home price in Vero Beach is only $379,000.
Really?
In Palm Beach County, it's $617. So 40% less, or what? 80%? No, not 80%. About 40% less, if my math is right. In moving in to out ratio, I mean, how many people are moving into Vero Beach versus leaving? It's positive to moving in by 1.36. So 1/3 more people come in to move to Vero Beach as opposed to leaving Vero Beach. The population of Vero Beach was only 17,000. That's like amazingly small. Crime safety score was a B-, and public schools was an A-. So that's a really good area to think of if you're thinking in South Florida. It is a very affordable area if you don't mind moving to Vero Beach, because it is pretty far north. But the beaches up there are awesome.
Oh yeah,
and that's a very nice area, and I expect that to continue on and on. So that's kind of interesting.
There's pockets of money up in Vero. I'm surprised the median in Vero is what it is.
Probably because it's concentrated on the shore, the near the water.
Yeah.
And then there is so much more inland, and I don't think
that's not an Indian. Was that an Indian River County median or a Vero median? I'm sorry.
It says Vero Beach, but they said the city's only 17,000, so I think it's the city, not the general area.
It's
not a metropolitan area.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the city they're looking at, which is nice. I like when they do that, because a lot of times when you read West Palm Beach is this or Miami's this, it really isn't Miami. It's the metropolitan area, Miami,
Right.
which is a
Okay.
much bigger area.
Right.
A lot of times, metropolitan area Miami includes Miami, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach is one area, and they call it the Miami metro area. So you have to, just a little thing on that. Now we're going to go to the flip side. That was family-friendly cities report.
Yes.
Then there was another report, best Florida cities to retire. Now this is according to Wallet Hub, so it's just just things to talk about.
So we got pickleball and affordability and early bird specials. Lots of
now we're doing
transportation.
indoor
The villages.
indoor pickleball because it's so dang hot out there. Wallet Hub ranked 4 cities in Florida to be good retirement areas. I'm not sure I agree with all this, to be honest with you, but Miami, which has the highest condo prices in the nation for fees and stuff like that. Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa, right? So they're saying they're best for retirement due to lower taxes and high quality health care. But they're not talking about housing costs in here, which I really feel is a huge thing for retirees. Is the housing cost is just as important as the state income tax now, which we're going to get into the next segment. So the reason why people like this area is we have 1,350 miles of beachfront. We have 233 days a year on average that are sunny compared to not sunny. And we have an array of recreational entertainment opportunities, and there's no inheritance tax and no estate tax down here. So these are all the reasons why Florida might be a good retirement spot. I really think that some of these things are being stripped out by housing costs, which is what we're going to get into next, guys, because it's 10:30. On the flip side, listen to this. A house in June in Boynton Beach and a very high-end country club community just sold for $1.
Oof.
And it closed. And I just looked, and there are 13 homes in that community right now that you could buy for $1,000. And the homes are super nice. And we're going to talk about why that's happening right now because of the condo crisis that we're going through. So on the flip side, we're going to get into the condo crisis. If you own a condo, you're thinking about buying a condo, or you're in a condo and you're thinking, oh my God, my fees are going outrageously high, you're going to want to hear the next segment.
Yeah, we're going to have valuable information. Of course, always remember you have access to the entire team. Pros at the one-stop real estate shop. That is FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. At FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, you get them all. This team works cohesively together, and you can experience just that. Buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, everything in between. Remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com on Facebook and YouTube as well, but use that .com. You got the hotline there. You can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 888-973-7828 at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We got a 4-minute break. We're back at it. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate. It's right here on Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com. Real Radio weather.
From the Gordon Partners Weather Center, have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. A mix of sun and clouds into the afternoon with a chance for a few showers in the area as temperatures remain in the upper 80s. Then partly cloudy, humid again tonight with overnight lows in the upper 70s into Sunday morning. Scattered showers and thunderstorms arrive Sunday afternoon with potential for heavy rainfall through the start of next week.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
You're listening to Real Radio 92.1, and we are an iHeart radio station. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it, toll free, and you're running short on time if you're planning on making a phone call on this Saturday morning to Florida Talk Real Estate. We got about 25 minutes remaining before we pass the baton to the locker room on this Saturday, October 5th. Johnny C, well, that's me. Timothy's our producer extraordinaire. What's up, my brother?
Hello, and good morning.
Good morning. He'll line you up if you choose to dial in at 877-927-6969. If you do have questions, comments, concerns, you want to get involved with the conversation we're having, you're more than welcome. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. It's your access to the entire team. If you're not comfortable on the radio, know it, use it, love it, share it. When you're buying a home, selling a home, you're stuck with it, you don't know what to do, you need pros. Like Jimmy D. Jim DePola, I've told you for 12 plus years, runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team. Jimmy D, how you be?
I'm doing good, everybody. Happy South Florida. Hopefully you're all staying dry out there right now, and it's going to get sloppier over the next 24 hours. So I hope you stay safe and drive. Stay safe and dry through the next 4 or 5 days. We might get up to a foot of rain here in South Florida over the next 4 or 5 days. So watch out. Okay, yes. So get ready. Gonna wish you had flood insurance if you're anywhere near water, which we talked about in the earlier segment. So catch that out later. Hey, we're going to get into the condo crisis that's happening here in Florida. This is a very real thing. It's talked about as national news. And I wanted to go through some facts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the good news because there is one good news for one community. Going to talk about the bad news, which is pretty much everywhere. And then I'm going to talk about the crazy news. And what's the crazy news? There's this one community in Boynton Beach, very upscale golf and country club community that's been around a long, long time. And they've got a $47 million bill coming, and they had to figure out a way to pay it. And the homeowners are fleeing. And we just had, I think, the lowest sale I've ever seen in my life in June. $1 to buy a condo.
Wow.
They closed with $1. That's what they paid for this unit.
Now, my initial reaction is that was sold to a family member.
Oh no!
Nope.
No! Because
this was
there
something
are
else.
There are something like 9 properties on the market right now for $1,000 in that same community.
And how come?
And we're going to get into that. This is all about the condo crisis. Can you imagine $1, Johnny?
No, that's as Jimothy noted, that's a special circumstance. That's a hookup.
Yeah. That's all, right? You sell it, you sell a car, so they don't have to pay as much taxes.
We're going to get into that. So let me start off with the we're going to start off with the bad news first, because that sets where we are. Okay. So Redfin, which I'm not always a huge fan of, but they do this research. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to take it for what it is. Redfin is a real estate brokerage company, but they're also like a portal that you could look for properties across the country on, kind of like a Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com thing.
Yes.
But Redfin,
and one of the bigger ones too. There,
they're one of the bigger ones. Yeah, they are. I just don't like those companies. I'm sorry, I'm a prejudiced because I'm a realtor, and those people are not realtor friendly. Those companies. But anyway, Redfin did a study of 43 metro markets across the country, including Florida. And surprise, surprise, Florida had the sharpest increases for condo fees anywhere in the nation. Number one was Tampa, 17% increase year over year. But Orlando and Fort Lauderdale weren't far behind, with a 16% increase of condo fees year over year. West Palm is right up there in this upper group of 12% increase year over year for condo fees. Miami only saw a 6% increase year over year, which is kind of surprising. But what they attributed that to, Miami already has the highest median condo fees in the country at $835 a month. So the median condo fee in Miami is $835 a month just to live there. That doesn't include your insurance or your taxes or any other fees. It's just your monthly condo fee cost. Not surprisingly, condo prices have been dropping across the 43 metro markets. We've seen a price drop of only 1.9%, not crazy low, but still 1.9% drop. Jacksonville had the highest price drop in the country for condos at 6.6%. Miami's right up, Tampa's right up there at 5% drop overall for median sales price for condos, and Fort Lauderdale 4.2%. They didn't put Miami in that, West Palm in that group, so I don't know. That's kind of where we are with the condos increases. And a lot of these condos, because they're being struck with what I call the triple whammy tsunami that's happening with them right now. So what is the triple whammy? Number one, insurance costs for the community. Just like regular homeowners, condo communities are being hit with high increases in insurance fees, which they can't control or predict until the new policy comes out.
Right.
So they get caught blindsided as to how much the premium's going to be, and they got to pass that on to their condo owners. That's just the cost of doing business. But it's much worse than that because of the sunny side. I always get this wrong. I think it's sunny side.
Surfside.
Thank you. One of my friends lived down there, and he always gets mad I get this wrong. Sorry, Jim. Surfside, the condo collapse that happened in 2019. No, 2022.
I was going to say, it only feels like it's about 3 years ago, but
like,
I am terrible with time the older I get.
Yeah, I think it was 2021, Johnny. I think you're right. Because of that
June of 2021. Yep.
Yeah, they lost 98 people there because the building just collapsed on itself. What they found out later was there was a leak in the pool that nobody took care of. The leak got under the foundation of the building, and it weakened the foundation, and the whole thing collapsed. Like it looked like a Vegas implosion of one of those condos. I mean, one of those casinos that they implode all the time. It went down, and we lost 98 people there. So a very, very big deal, very tragic. So the state stepped in and said, wait a second, why didn't anybody fix these problems or deal with these problems? Because they knew about it, but the condo group decided not to deal with the problems at the time it was happening. And there was already a law in effect that any building any condo that's taller than 3 stories has to go through a 30-year structural engineering report to see if there's any damage they need to fix, especially if you're within 3 miles of the intercoastal. And a lot of people were just kicking the can down the road and either not doing it or doing the report saying, we're not going to really fix it. We'll deal with it later.
For years.
And now the state's saying, no, you can't do that anymore. And then on top of it, so that's the second whammy. No, the first is condo insurance. Okay. Second is the structural engineering reports. Right. They're very expensive for these condos to do. Sometimes the reports themselves are millions of dollars, depending on how big the community is.
And that's just a report.
That's just the report. And then they got to do the report, and then they are obligated to do the repairs now. They can't kick the can down the road. Right. So the state is also the triple whammy. The third whammy is the state is now requiring all the condos to have enough reserves to pay for these repairs in the future, because they know that they're going to have to continue to do these repairs, and they don't want any more deferred maintenance, no more kicking the can down the road. So because of these 3 things, we've seen condo communities decimated with costs. There are some places down in Miami and Fort Lauderdale where people are being charged $200,000 for all of those 3 things on top of their regular condo fee, right? So in the building I live in, the condo owners are paying about $70,000 a unit right now for the concrete restoration. They're coming into my unit just recently, and they're going to be chipping my cement ceiling in my house, in my living room and bedroom for weak rebar in the concrete. They're going to be coming in there and doing that. And the condo owners are paying $70,000 a piece. Now, in that condo, they're paying $1,200 for their regular condo monthly fee. The average person over there is probably paying $1,000 a month for insurance. So between those two, that's $2,200 a month.
Yeah.
Right. Then now they're paying on top of that another $70,000. And there's a good chance that $1,200 a month condo fee is going to go up because of insurance costs for the long run. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of problems going on.
Yep. I think the one that really, I mean, the insurance is hitting everybody. I feel like the one that is just mounting more than anything, though, as you noted, based on Redfin's reports, Tampa 17% increase year over year for their association fees, with Palm Beach at 12%, and you said, what was it, Lauderdale at 16?
Yep. Good memory.
What matters? Yes, that number matters, but when I'm consuming that, the first thing I think is, when were your last increases? Like, you probably went a decade where you were voting against raising it. Like, if you incrementally increase it year over year, you take these little ouches and you control the coffers and you plan for the future. It doesn't hit you at a 17% year over year.
Exactly.
So like, that number's staggering, but when was your last increase? What was your last assessments? Like, how long did you kick the can? And I'm glad to hear you saying it several times in the explanation, how they're not going to allow it. The state's like, you guys can't do this anymore. These condo associations were poorly managed. Run a highlighter over how poorly managed they were. Not all of them, clearly not all of them, but plenty. So poorly managed for so long. It's almost criminal in a way. It feels almost criminal, but the people that live in the association, they vote these people in power, and they don't hold their feet to the fire. Why? They don't want to spend more than they have to. Yeah. They're just as at fault. I have a ton of empathy for these people, but man, personal responsibility is not a thing anymore. It's gone away for the last quarter of a century. It just goes further and further away. And my God, this is a wonderful example of people going, well, what about me? It's like, well, what about you? You should have stepped in 10 years ago and been like, whoa, what are we doing? How do we keep the same fees year after year when we have assessments coming.
I was going to ask that because I thought that was going to be the fourth whammy, which was we weren't keeping up with
at all
the association fees, right? And I often thought that one of the reasons that was because the people that are on the homeowners association boards, or whatever you want to call it, that type of a group, also live there, so they don't want to vote, like you just said, Johnny.
That's what happens.
They don't want to
be
raise
unpopular.
They
don't want to be unpopular.
Right?
They're voted like a politician. They don't want to be unpopular and say, hey, I'm the one that's going to give you the bad news and I'm going to stand up and do the right thing.
And it affects their own as well. So they would be raising it on themselves as well. Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Well, it's a good point, Jimothy. They just also changed some state regulation that when you become a condo board member, you have to get specialized training now to understand financing and your obligations under these new state laws, which they didn't have before. You got into the condo board and you're just on your own condo.
Yeah.
And you're hoping you're going to be guided correctly by the property management companies. But let me tell you,
you have no expertise or training at all. You just get voted in because you're popular or you're the only one that wants the position.
Right. And then what happens is they rely on the property management companies. And that's a whole nother thing because the property management companies, I have rarely found good property management companies in Florida that really want to deal with stuff. It's like everything to them seems like a headache and aggravation. They don't respond properly, in my opinion, to things that they're legally required as being the property manager. Like, for example, if I'm trying to sell a house or condo and we need to give certain condo documents to the buyer so they can go through all this stuff to make sure they want to buy, if the owners don't have those condo documents, it's usually hell trying to get those condo documents from the property manager. And then the owners get mad at the realtors. Why can't you get them for me? That's your job, right? I go, because your property manager won't respond to me because I'm not the owner of the property. You have to make this stink in order to get it. And when you call them and ask them for this stuff, these laws have been in effect for years and years, and they act like they never heard that they have to give this. I go, you're screwing over your owner of the condo by not giving us those documents because they have a legal obligation to give them to the buyer.
They act like a condo's never been sold in their association.
Exactly.
First time there's been a sale in your association since you've been there, huh? All right.
But so there are new regulations, Jimothy, to try to curtail some of that stuff. So let me go into the good news real quick, and then we're going to go into the crazy news. Okay. So we already talked about the bad. So here's the good news, and it's only for one community. Okay, so it's one community.
Real quick though, so the dollar sales, clearly that's because of cost.
We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going to get there in the crazy.
It was brought up. There is going to be a reason why it's coming around.
Oh,
Stick
absolutely.
around. Okay,
Absolutely.
Stick around.
So like,
how are they sold for $1?
Obviously I wanted to get into that. So I want to get into the good news just really quick first. So there was a community in Springbrook Gardens, which is an intercoastal community in Fort Lauderdale. That on September 26th, they ordered everybody like very fast to say, get out of this building. We think the city engineers city inspectors were afraid it was going to collapse.
Okay.
Like Surfside. What happened was they were doing their structural engineering stuff and they were working on it. And when the city inspectors came in, they found out that there was a lot of salt erosion in the foundation and, a lot of salt erosion in the foundation, and they were afraid it was going to collapse while they were working on it. So they pulled all people out. Now, I had a hard time finding any sales for this because I wanted to see if there's any issues with the sales, but there's only 18 units in this community. So there hasn't really been a sale since 2021, but all 18 condo owners were taken out of the building and they were staying at hotels and people's houses. And what they found out was the condo board worked with the city, but they got a second opinion from another engineering company that came in and did another report saying, look, we need to do the concrete restoration here. There are foundation issues, but we don't believe that the people have to be taken out of the unit while we're doing it. We don't believe it'll collapse. The city agreed. And this week they were allowed to come back in.
Oh.
So they all came back in. A couple of
that's
people.
Sketchy, huh?
I'm gonna say, boy, doesn't it sound like that though? It sounds like somebody greased the right palm.
Oh.
Well, all I can tell, I kind of had the same feeling, but I can tell you this: the people that did move in, one of the quotes I read in one of the local papers was one of the people said, "I was so happy I could cry." So meaning that they were able to come back to their home.
Sure. Well, you're told something that you prefer to hear versus something else, but it's like, well, why do we hire this company if we're not going to go on what they say?
There is a reason for that, and I'm going to be real. Engineers have a very high standard with the state that if they put something down in a report on anything, because I've had to deal with this as an investor when I was flipping homes, their license is on the line every time they do a report and talking about this stuff, and rightfully so. Yes. So some of them have been super overly cautious because of Surfside. So they were bringing in people for second opinion, which is becoming more common because some of them are so worried that they rather super err on the side of caution, like too much, and went overboard. I'm not saying that that's true or not in this example, but that's the theory behind it. But that's enough of the good news. Let's get to the crazy news. Why would anybody sell their condo, a perfectly good condo, for $1, right? So what's going on is there's a community called Hunter's Run in Boynton Beach. And I'm like joking that it should be called Hunter's Run Away right now because everybody's fleeing over there. So I checked for condos in that general area of Hunter's Run, which is basically on, if I'm not mistaken, it's between Congress and Military. It's a very large community between Congress and Military, east and west.
Okay.
And right off of either Woolbright or Boynton Beach Boulevard, but it goes all the way from Congress all the way west to Military. It's a very big community. It's a mix of townhomes, villas, condos.
Nice.
Hunter's Run, there were 112 condos for sale in that general area, not just Hunter Runs, but the surrounding communities. Out of the 112 homes for sale, 87 of them are in Hunter's Run. And let's go to the lowest price. Now, out of the 87, the lowest price Hunter Run right now, there are 4. There are 4 homes for sale for $1,000. There's one for $3,000. There's another 3 for $5,000, and there's another 5 or 6 for $10,000. And the most expensive home in Hunter's Run right now is 1.599 million. Right, because there's $1 million people in this community because it's a golf community.
That's a big range.
Wait. Is the house that's going for $1 million the same style house as the one that's going for 3,000?
No, they are different types. And there's two communities in there that seem to be really hurting really bad because there's a lot of subdivisions. Southport at Hunter's Run and Stratford at Hunter's Run. These are like 1,400 square foot units, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Those are the ones that seem to be in the biggest trouble. And what Hunter's Run just did, and the reason why everybody's selling the unit for so low, when they bought, they usually had to pay about $35,000 to $50,000 just to move into the community. So if you bought a house for $200,000 10 years ago, you'd also have to pay $50,000 to the community, and that was supposed to. Not a membership. It's like to buy into the community. The membership is separate. Then you got to pay an condo fee and the membership fee. So that $50,000, or at least part of it, was supposed to come back to you when you sold. But because they owe $47 million in repairs for this triple whammy thing we've been talking about, they voted, 80% of the residents voted, just keep the money. We don't want the money back.
Ouch.
Because if they didn't do that, everybody was going to be assessed $30,000 per unit across the community to make up the difference.
So they're like, just keep the money that we already gave you.
And a lot of people were very freaked out because now the membership, just to buy into the community, when you buy into it, you got to pay $85,000 just to move into the community. So if you pay $1 for the property, you're paying another $85,000 to the community for the luxury of moving in.
And then you got a membership fee.
About $1,200 a month for these two communities.
It's not an annual thing. It's a monthly thing.
That's a $1,200 monthly fee. And then on top of it, you have to either buy a golf membership, a social membership, or something like that. So the minimum is like $24,000 per year you got to pay just for the social membership. If you got a golf membership, you might be paying $35-40 every single year on top of the $1,200 a month. Right? Plus that money you got to do to come in. That's why some of these units,
at some point, these are going to be paying people to take it.
Yep, that's why I know. Well, that's what's happening. So people are buying the places for like $1 to $1,000.
No, at some point they're going to be like, I'll give you $500 to come and take this place.
Well, $1. Somebody closed at $1 in June. Somebody bought one of these for $1 in June. How crazy is that?
Yeah, no, I'm saying as the seller, be like, I'm going to pay you $500 to come take my condo.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
the idea is that they just wanted to get out of it. They just wanted to leave.
A lot of the people are fleeing because they don't see they can't see the bleeding stopping.
Nope.
And a lot of them can't afford it.
Like whatever equity they had, whatever they've already paid into it, they're just like,
I'm gone.
I just want to get out of it.
So there's 87 people out there, and out of the 87, 13 of them are $10,000 or less. And a lot of the ones that were offering their house at $10,000, they're closing at like $3,000, $2,000. But one person was so done they did it for $1.
Wow.
The commissions that are being made on these deals are more than the purchase price for the house.
Wow. Desperate times really do call for desperate measures, don't they?
Is that crazy or what?
It really, truly is.
Well, I think we wrapped up another show, Johnny and Jimothy. Thanks for playing hurt today with our lack of people here.
Yeah, no pain at all.
PUPs.
Appreciate you being with us, though. Thanks for riding along on a Saturday. We will be back at it next Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate here on Real Radio every Saturday for 2 hours of infotainment. I heard Greek over there a little bit ago as well, so locker room's getting ready to fire up. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is at .com. Buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Anything that touches the world of real estate, we got a professional for you and a team of professionals that work cohesively together. Experience it for yourself. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it on Facebook and YouTube. Get some Florida Talk Real Estate in your life. And again, share that. You never know when you can change lives with FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Jimothy, have a great rest of your weekend.
You as well, Johnny. Jim, you have a great weekend too. And thank you for listening.
Yes, very much. We appreciate you. Yeah, Jimmy D, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were saying
You're
Jimothy. Yeah, you guys have a great day.